Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our performance management system training for the new Page Up system that will be rolling out in just a couple weeks here and launching. Today we have Kay Larson-Hayes from Page Up with us. She's going to be walking us through the presentation, the system, and kind of guiding us through this training today. We do have the chat function available though for any questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we can monitor that and make sure to interject and ask and get all questions answered during the session. Please make sure to mute your microphones so that we don't have any feedback or background noise during the presentation. And if you want to rename yourself in the Zoom as well, so we know who's all here and can see everybody's names, that'd be great too. So without further ado, I'll let it over to Kay and she'll kick us off here.
Thank you, Natalie. And thank you folks for taking the time out of your busy days to actually join us for this training. Hopefully it won't take the full hour because I know it's always good when a trainer can let you go early, but we do want to make sure that you get a good introduction to the new performance system that the HR team has worked so very hard at getting done. And I think they've done a really good job. And I know many of them have already met with your various departments to go over much of the information so ahead of time. So hopefully this will be a very smooth transition for everybody. So I'm actually going to start with going through a few slides, and then I'm actually going to jump into the system so that you will be able to see and understand how the whole process works. This is kind of a combined session. So we're going to be both doing the patrol officers, I think, and the command together. It's a very similar process for both. So depending upon which side of the fence you are on will basically be pretty much the same. There may be a little bit of different information from the patrolman or police officer side versus the other side, but we'll take a look at that. And as Natalie said, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat so that we can stop and actually get them answered today. And I apologize, I'm not going to share my camera only because I don't like to have the video potentially create a problem. So we'll go right ahead and get started. So here's our agenda. We're going to walk through the process overview, logging into the new performance management, navigating through it, and then completing your actions. Now in this session, we're actually going to talk about all of your actions. So whether you're an employee or a supervisor, we're going to cover all of those actions in this session. So I will move through pretty quickly. HR will have these slides available as well as some additional information at a later point. So how do you access the system? If you're a supervisor or employee, it doesn't make any difference. Basically, there are two links on here. So you can go to the Human Resources website. And as you see down here, if you click on Performance Evaluation Plan, that will take you to what we call the new Page Up site. Once you log in, this is basically what your page is going to look like. This is what we call the Employee Performance Portal. You will notice you have a few other items here. But today we're going to focus on basically just the performance. You will share this screen, so both employees and supervisors will have access to the same screen. As you can see my note over here, it says that employees will use My Performance Review, supervisors will use My Performance Review, as well as Team Performance Reviews to see all of your specific direct reports. So it is kind of nice because you as a supervisor do not have to go any other place than right on this screen to not only be able to complete your own review, but to also complete your employees. This is the actual evaluation process that the team came up with for both units. So we'll have basically 6 steps. The 7th step is basically once the supervisor does the final review and acknowledgement, then the evaluation will fall into what we call an evaluation complete state. So we're going to walk through what each of these 7 states are going to actually look like for you. And if you do have any questions, again, please let me know. As you can see, for the most part, the supervisor is the one who's going to carry the heavy load. Throughout this process, you will have 4 tasks to do, where the employee will have 2 tasks to do. So the first step in the process is for your employee to identify goals and job responsibilities. Some of these have, in fact, been preloaded, but there are some additional information that will be added. So first of all, your employee is going to receive an email that will let them know that they have this task to do. They will log in based on the information that I gave you previously, and you will see a new button here. So if you're taking this review, then it's going to say new, and you'll just be able to click on the title. If you're on this one, you'll just click on the title here. So pretty easy. System does populate it. You will notice that there is this little timeline down here. This is what we call it, as a timeline. As the items move through, you can actually hover over and see what each one of the steps are in the process ahead of time if you wish to see that. This is what your review is going to look like, or the new evaluation form and all of the various section types. The team has done a great job of putting together some basic instructions. And I'm pulling from, so the supervisor's name will show up here. Mine happens to be Manager Performance is his name. And then some additional information that you will need. There will be a Goals and Projects tab, Job Knowledge and Responsibilities, University Competencies, a Professional Development, and Overall Rating tab. Some of these will not be available to you during the initial session, but as we move through, they will be. So in section 1 is the Goals and Projects. Pretty straightforward. There's, again, a set of instructions here for each employee to utilize when they're doing that, and they will simply add their goals and projects. You can do that by clicking on Add Goals and Projects at the bottom of the page. The second step is the job knowledge and responsibilities. So you'll have the ability to review the job knowledge responsibilities, and also in your case, you will be able to add an additional ones if desired. So you will see when we actually get into the system that they have already preloaded based on some conversations with your departments. So again, the instructions are both. So if you're an employee, these are what you will want to pay attention to from an instructional perspective. And then if you're a supervisor, basically when it's your turn to come into the system and take action, these will be your instructions. Everything that we do in our system is a joint effort. Finger got away from me here. So you will see this. You do have the ability to upload a document. So if you got received some kind of letter or something like that that you want to apply to this, then by all means you can do that. This is the Add Job Knowledge and Responsibilities. You will notice that when you click on that box, this is what will open up for you. And this is basically a brief description of your job knowledge or responsibility can be added here. And so if there was something that you thought was important that wasn't listed, you have the ability to add that. Section 3 is the competencies. These have already been preloaded. Everybody will be rated on these same competencies. So they are initially put out there so that your employees have the opportunity to review them before they're actually rated on them. There is also a link in here to Performance Management Toolbox that the team has put together. So if you have any questions or want to look around, that will drive you right to the Performance Management Toolbox. And then section 4 is adding professional development items. And again, these are, I believe these are optional. So it's encouraged. So if you want to add any professional development items that you want to participate in or have participated in, then please just click on the button. Now you will see here, the first time that you're in the system, you will not see these 2 options. But next year, when you go to complete an evaluation, you will have the ability to add either a new one, or maybe you want to pull something from a previous review that you had. You will have the option to do that. As you will see, most of our fields are pretty similar. So again, entering a title and then enter your actual professional development item there. Section 5 is the overall rating. So initially, this is not going to be available. So in the early part of the process, no action will be required. You will simply be able to go to the next step tab and move it on in the process. Okay. Step 2 basically is now going to belong to your supervisor. So supervisors, all of you that are on the call, this will pertain to you. You'll receive that same email notification. When you log in, you're going to go to your team performance review. Now, we've just used some examples here, but this is what will look like. So if you have 2, 3, 4 employees that report to you, and the reviews will all launch at the same time. So then you can simply locate the specific employee, click the down arrow as I have done here, and the title of the review will actually show up. You can just simply click on the title, and that will open the review for you. Again, your information is going to look very similar, except for now the employee has actually gone in and added some information. So your pages, your information is the same, except your instructional text here is a little bit different. So you will be able to view any of the employee information and add additional information on this step if you so desire. So you can just simply click on add goals and projects as well. So there may have been something that the employee missed, or maybe there's something the employee that you want the employee to do that they may not have initially been aware of. And so you can add that information as well. Here you'll be able to review the items listed. If they did click on, if you want to, you can also add an additional job responsibility button, but not necessary. Again, many of all this information has been preloaded for you. University competencies, the same thing is going to hold true at this point in the stage. For you as a supervisor, you will just simply go in and review the items that the HR has set forth for everybody to be evaluated against. And then you will be able to review the information the employee added, and you will also be able to add additional professional development. So it's a very interactive type of review. Don't feel like you need to add anything, but from time to time, maybe supervisor, you've had a conversation with the employee and potentially there's something that you would like them to attend, but they just didn't add it, so you can. Again, at this point in time, the overall rating for you is not available. So we're just in that whole initial getting everything set in place for the actual rating period to occur. Everybody in our system has this feature called journaling. So both supervisors and employee can basically log into the performance portal at any time and add what we call journal entries. You might just say notes on a particular employee. Maybe you want to make a note on yourself, maybe something that you did that you want to keep track of or something like that. You have the ability. You will notice from the screen that this is pretty much what it looks like in the system. You have a journal entry button here, so you can click on that. You also have an About Me, a journal area over here. If you click on that, they both pretty much open up an area like this. So you can put a title, what your content, maybe you attended a training or something like that, that you want to make sure that you don't forget to add when you're completing your review. We also have what we call an everyday performance app. So hopefully folks will begin to use this. You can download this either at your Android store or your Apple store. And that is exactly what it's called, Everyday Performance App. It's a page up product. And you can bring that up on your phone. And that's kind of nice to have because you may be, you know, like I said, at a conference or something like that, and you want to keep track of things, that courses or things like that that you're attending. It's great for you to just be able to pull up your phone and go to the Everyday app and make those kind of entries. They will automatically come back to the online system, so you will not have to worry about, you know, going back and looking at your phone. It will automatically transfer in. Some people will use it, some people won't, but we will encourage everyone to. So now we move into the meat and potatoes of the system, which is the supervisor completes the evaluation. So you will notice that every time that an action happens, you as a supervisor are in fact going to receive an email notification. There will be some login information in that email, so you really won't have to go very far. You're going to go to your team performance, and this time you're going to notice that this current step has changed to supervisor completes evaluation. And at this point, now you are going to be able to rate items. So your supervisor will rate the job knowledge responsibilities, the university competencies, and you will provide an overall rating. You will also be able to add comments to all of the areas. So this is basically what it's going to look like. So response to emergency calls. So you will be able to check one of these. Natalie's going to talk about the ratings in just a minute. But you will be able to just basically select sort of like a radial button or something like that. You're just going to select a star. You also have the ability to add a comment. And that's for the job knowledge. And this one is would look like for your university competencies. I'm going to turn it over to Natalie for a minute so she can talk about the rating scales.
Great, thanks, Kay. So with our new performance evaluation system, we're also rolling out new rating scales. So the new rating scales will be the 4 items you see in front of you: the exceeding, succeeding, developing, or needs improvement. This is a change from the previous rating scales in that most folks should probably be falling in either the succeeding or developing. We have specific criteria that's outlined under each of these to show what type of what individual might receive these types of ratings. Developing isn't necessarily a negative thing. Maybe it's a brand new task that somebody's involved in and they've just started it, so they can't be fully doing the duty yet, or they're still in that learning process. So it's just a note of their level of experience in that, potentially. And then succeeding is an outstanding rating and something we would see most people hopefully falling into. Exceeding is really going to be reserved for folks that are truly going way above and beyond the expectations of the role. So those are probably going to be less frequently used, and maybe 1 or 2 items are exceeding on your review versus all of the review. And really, we'd like to see folks sitting in that succeeding or developing range, because those are great review rankings to receive, and they show the level of experience somebody has in those roles. The needs improvement is where you're going to reserve for folks that aren't meeting the expectations or needing to improve on the expectations that you've set with them. And like Kay said, there's the ability to add additional comments in the system, so you can explain those things a little bit more, or the rating that was designated. But really, we want to drill home that succeeding and developing are where vast majority of folks are going to fall. And then those other ends of the scale are going to be for, the really needing to improve or absolutely exceeding the expectations you set. So please just utilize them in that way, and know that if you receive a developing rating or succeeding, it means you're doing an adequate job, and maybe it's just a new task that you haven't learned to do fully yet. So we'll be including some tools on using these scales, as well as the detailed descriptions of them and the different items that fall under each of those for assigning those rankings. They'll be embedded in that toolkit page that Kay had referenced earlier, and will be linked to through the page up system. And so that's covering our new rating scales, and I'll turn it back over to Kay.
Thanks, Natalie. So based on that, once you have completed the evaluation, the one actual, as you get to the end, or when you're on the last page of your evaluation, you are going to be presented with this. It will say you cannot progress the review to the next step because the manager final comments are missing. So we are going to require that a manager does leave final comments. So basically what you'll do is you'll see that. You will not see a button here that says that you can go to the next step. So you will scroll down to the bottom of the page and you will leave your final comments. As soon as you start to leave your final comments, this button will change and will allow you to move it, to the next step. It will also always tell you every time that you do that, what that next step is. So that next step does in fact also belong to you as the supervisor. And that would be the opportunity for you to schedule a meeting with your employee to review basically any of your comments that you have on the review. Once you have completed that task, then your employee is going to have the ability to acknowledge their review. So pretty easy steps, but it will require, when you're at this step, some supervisor employee review, once you have gone through, reviewed the evaluation with the employee, you do have the ability to print it off, put it into a PDF, if you prefer to do it that way, and hand it to them. A lot of people just prefer to share it on their computer with the employee. So that's totally up to you with regards to how you would like to present it. The fifth step will be where the employee acknowledges their review. So again, pretty similar stuff. Employee will receive an email, they'll log in, they'll go to their review, they'll click on the title, and they will be able to review the evaluation. They will not be able to change anything. The only place that they will be able to do is they will be able to add final comments. And then again, they will be able to see your final comments, and then they will be able to add any final comments of their own. That is why we added step number 6, so that you as the supervisor will be able to review any of the final comments that your employee has made. So basically the same thing, this is the final step. You have the ability to see your final comments when you log back in and add additional comments. And you will also be able to see the employee final comments at this point in time. So it'll look very much like this. The employee, if they don't make any comments, then that's exactly how it will read, and you will see your comments down here. You will actually move, as the supervisor, you will move the review into the status of evaluation complete. Once you do that, then the review no longer looks like a tab format. Basically, it looks like a form. It actually moves into a form view. So from an employee perspective, if you want to view your evaluation, once it's completed, then basically you're going to log into the portal. You're going to click on up here where it says About Me and click on Performance Reviews. You will be presented with a screen that looks very similar to this. You will just basically change the status to Complete or All and hit Search. You will find your review and then you will click on View the Report. And basically it will be a document that will show all of the items that you've been rated on, all of the comments, all of the final comments, and your overall rating at the end. From a supervisor's perspective, you're pretty much going to do the same thing, except for you're going to log into My Team. So once you log into the site, you'll go to Your Team, Performance Reviews. You will also, so this is what the screen looks like. You will change the status to Complete, and then you will see this. And you will be able to view the report, or if you click the I want to, you'll also get View the Report as well. So pretty straightforward information. This is probably the one step that most people will get hung up on at the very end. But again, just refer to this anytime you need to. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and end the show and let me jump into the system. So I'm going to use a couple of fake employee supervisors within our system so that I'm not using anybody at the university, particularly at the university. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in as an employee and we'll start the process. I've already set Miss Sally up to get your review so that you can actually see what it looks like. So when the employee actually logs in, whether it's yourself, this is what you will be brought to. So just to kind of recap, your name will show up here. Here is an area for journal entry. So this, if you click on that, that's where you will see the journal entry. If you come over here under About Me, you will also see a journal area. Let's hope it's working. I'm in a test environment today, so and you can see I've already added some training here. So title, content, tags, done. All you have to do is click that button and you are able to add any comments or journals that you want to. It's very easy to get back. You can just click on that little house and it's going to bring you back to your review. So I'm going to come in as Miss Sally. So Elizabeth asked, what are the tags used for? So if you're a supervisor, you might want to use a tag for, tagging an individual so that when you go to do their review, you would be able to see, the particular information with regards to that individual. You would go in and search based on that tag. There may be something else. So generally speaking, tags would normally be lined up if you were going to be doing multiple entries about multiple people. And I do believe that, you're welcome. And I do believe that in their performance toolkit, they also have addressed that as well as ways to use your journaling. So here I am.
Okay,
So,
we do have one more
yes,
question about the journaling.
Okay.
The question is, are journals private? And for example, if you make a journal entry as an employee, can your supervisor see it? And can they be deleted?
So that's a good question. So yes, they are private. And yes, they can be deleted. So no, your supervisor can't see it at this point in time. And yeah, by any means, if you have, so if I came back out here to my journal entry and I click on it, I have this little trash can right here that says delete. So that's my delete button. Good questions.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, so let's go ahead in as Miss Sally here. So again, welcome, tells you who your supervisor is, and it tells you when this task is due to be completed by. You will simply click on the next button. That will be the way that you will move through the entire system. You will see at the end of every page that there is a next button. Here are some instructions with regards to your goals. You will simply click on Add Goals. The box will appear. You will notice that there is an asterisk beside the title. So that will be a required field. So maybe we want to do, I don't know, I'm just going to generally pick out some stuff. Your goal was to complete emergency training. What does that mean? You kind of put a description about what that is. And I don't know if you can notice, but right here, there was, as soon as I make an entry in the system, there's a little saving button that pops up right here at the top of your screen. So the system is constantly saving your entries. Okay. You have the ability to upload a document. That's very easy. You just select a file from your desktop and the system will upload. I don't have any really good ones other than all of your trainings, so we probably won't do that, but you will have the ability to do that. You do have the ability to also add additional goals, so you don't have to just put one. You can put as many goals or projects that you might be working on in this area. For time purposes, we'll try to keep everything down to one so you can see what it looks like. You also do have the ability that you say, okay, you know what, this was last year, so maybe I want to delete this. You can delete it, or you can just overwrite it before you move forward. You'll click on next. This is your job responsibilities. So this is from the POAM side of the house. So you will see these have already been preloaded for you. So you will just simply review the job knowledge responsibilities that have been included. And again, if you want to add another one, you can do that. You don't have any actions initially when you're going in to evaluate to review your evaluation. So these are all of the university competencies that you will be rated against. So you want to make sure that you take time to actually review each one of those items.
Okay, we had a quick question here about the job responsibilities and knowledge. The question is, are they preloaded from last year's EPDP? And the answer to that is that these were populated in conjunction with our Director of Staff Relations and the leadership in the police unions or the units. So they've already done that. So it didn't necessarily come from the EPDP directly from last year, but they will be preloaded for you, at least the basis of the fundamental job duties. Okay, so we have our competencies. Everybody has those, so everybody will be rated the same way. And then professional development. So some people may have it, some people may not. Obviously, professional development is, good for everybody. So we'll just put something simple in here, like you want to go to supervisor training. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So then you can put, the description of what that training is. You are not going to be rated against professional development items. So basically they'll just be, you'll be able to make a comment against them. Would rather not whether you attended or something happened or things like that. And then you will come to this final tab, which is the overall rating tab. And it does say very clearly this information will be available during the evaluation phase, so no action is required. You will click next. You have a summary here, so you can actually just click on the items. You can see all of the items that are listed. And you will simply at that point in time click on go to next step. That will then move it to your supervisor for your supervisor to review the items. You will have the ability to actually be able to view it, but you will not be able to edit anything at that point in time. Okay, so I'm going to come out. So you guys obviously don't have to, do the come in, come out kind of thing. I do. So now I have Charlie set up as the supervisor for this individual. So I will now log in as the supervisor. I've received an email notification. I come in and hopefully, where did Sally go? Oh, there she is. So I will come in, I will see an email that will actually tell me that this review is for Sally Performance. So I will come over, I'll click on the down arrow and I will be able to click into the review. Now let's just talk about from a supervisor perspective what this looks like. You still have the journal entries. You can make journal entries over here. Additionally, under your team, you're going to see performance reviews. So we'll talk about this as we get to the end.
That's where you would go to review the completed reviews. Okay. And so simply you're going to click on the title and you're going to come in. Again, it's going to tell you the deadline for this one is now August 12th. So every time we move forward, the deadline is going to change for you. You have the ability to now review what the employee has entered. If you're happy with that, that's great. You also have the ability to add additional goals or projects if you wish to. Some will, some won't. You will notice that there is the link to the performance management toolkit that the team has put together for you that has a lot of great information in it.
And could you make your window full screen so we can see it more clearly?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much. So this is what, again, it'll look like. I believe we have this set to open in a new tab, but I will just open this up. So a very nice, page with your performance management toolkit. Of course, it did that for me. So we're just going to continue through here. As the supervisor, you're just checking. You will see the same items that they added. If you want to add another job, knowledge, or responsibility that they didn't add, you by all means can do that as well. And I suspect in some cases there will be. University competencies. It's good for supervisors to look through to make sure that they understand what the employee will in fact be rated on. Here is their professional development area. So again, same thing. You can add items here. And last but not least, you'll have that overall rating tab that is not available until the evaluation phase. So that's simply just kind of moving through, checking everything to make sure that your employees are in line with what your expectations are. At this point in time, when you are done with that, then you will actually move through to complete the evaluation. Okay, so the next step, when we move them to that, you will simply click on go to next step. You ultimately don't even have to leave the system, but I'm sure at some point in time you are going to, so you can log out and log back in at any point in time throughout the process. Can't remember exactly, but I think you probably have a number of days before this is due. So you may, come back in and forth a couple of times. So the same process is going to start here. Now you will see. So I said initially when I was talking about this little timeline bar, if you hover over each item, it will tell you what the next item is and what the due date is on this. So you have until 21 September 2021 to actually complete your supervisor discussion. This one you have until 6 September to actually complete the evaluation. So you can see there's not a big rush. So when I do come in to complete it, I will click on the button. It will tell me that here is my employee, and then I will see their goals. This is where you have the ability to add a comment. You can save and share, so that means that it becomes public. If you save it as private, then that means that you as the supervisor are the only one who can see it. So if I save it as private, it basically becomes a draft comment. It is visible only to you, not just to me, but I am the supervisor, so it is visible only to you. You notice that you have over here, you have 3 little dots. You can click on those. You have the ability to edit it, publish it, or delete it. If you publish it, it will make it viewable by everybody. If you edit it, it will simply allow you to edit. You can save, it is still in draft, so you will want to now publish it. So now this review will be visible to the employee when they actually go to their review.
We did have a quick question here. Somebody asked, is there going to be a timeline posted for each of the different phases and the deadlines as was done in the past? And we will have some general timelines out on the new performance management toolkit site that will include like the general monthly timeframes that things should be completed. And then the system will have those exact due dates, as Kay had mentioned, show up in some of the initial information that she's showing us there, as well as if you hover over the different phases on the review itself. So that will be where you can find those exact deadlines each year. But we'll have some general timelines posted on the toolkit website as well for reference.
Thank you. Okay. So now we're moving into the job responsibilities. So here are our ratings. So again, these are the new ratings that, that Natalie talked about earlier. So you're just going to simply go through and rate each one of these areas. You have the ability to add a comment. He does a great job, maybe needs an improvement, whatever you need to put in here as a supervisor. Up until the point that you actually move this to the next step, you are always able to come in here and edit your comments. So as Natalie said, developing is just fine. This is a new task for this individual, so.
Ray, could you also show the group how to be able to add journal entries to the comment section?
Sure. So let's go to the next one. If you use the down arrow, you are able to also upload a file and link a journal entry. Okay, so I don't think I have a tremendous one, so I don't have any journal entries here for this particular employee, so I don't have anything to link. But again, if I did have one, that's a great use of that hashtag or that tag so that I can go right to that particular employee. So the difference is add comment, you're just going to simply click on the button. And even if you have already added a comment like I have here, you also have the ability to come back to this one, maybe upload a file or link a journal entry to it that you previously made. So I'm just going to go through and rate these so we don't spend all day, but again, you get the gist. You can add comments. University competencies, the same thing. You have the ability to add comments here. And you can just simply move through. Now, obviously, it's a little harder for you as a supervisor to actually do this because you are actually considering it the actual employees. So you're going to want to read these through and see how that employee actually was rated. Again, there's no rating for professional development, but you can add a comment here if you want to. And then last but not least, you will provide the overall rating. You also have an ability to make a comment on this piece, but as I showed you earlier, so you have the ability to make a comment here, and this is you. And then click to go to next step. This one also belongs to you, so this is not moving. Sometimes my mouse doesn't work. So this one also belongs to you, so this is where you probably are going to log out and come back in at a later date because you're going to need to set up some time for the employee to come in. There's no scheduling piece attached to this in here. So now you're going to go out, you're going to schedule the review for the employee. You're going to come back in and There's a couple of different options for you here. You can look at the report. So again, we're now at the final stages. You can go through the review step by step, or you can pull up the report. If you pull up the report, you have the ability to print. You also have the ability to put it in as a PDF. So you can see here goals and projects. You can see any of your comments that you made. You can see their ratings. And again, comments all the way through the process. Or you can simply go through one step at a time. You will notice that nothing is editable. You no longer have any little buttons. You have no trash can. Everything is pretty much locked in at this point in time. Now I will add to this that if you do get stuck and something does in fact need to be moved back one step, you have the ability to move the review back one step. There's a functionality here that is not turned on at this point, but it's called Team Details, and you will be able to click on that and you will be able to move back. I know they have instructions in the toolkit as to how to move back. Worst case scenario, if you are struggling to have to move something back, the HR team can move it back for you. So if you were back in, you already rated, you had this discussion, but you noticed that, oh, I made a mistake, you can go back and have it moved back to the rating state. That would be 2 steps. So one step would be moving, well, I guess in this case, it would just be the 1 step. So 1 step, you are as a supervisor able to move back, anything more than that, you will need to contact HR. All right, so the employee is now going to move in to acknowledge the review. That's the next step in the process. So you still have access to any of your other employees, so you can continue to work on them. And so we'll jump out here as of Mr. Charlie. And now I'll come back in as Miss Sally. So this is the steps as Natalie talked about, just again to refresh, if you want to see those overall due dates of an item, this would be due by the 26th of September. The next item is 1 October, and then this item is 2 October. So you don't have to worry. As soon as from a supervisor, you would make that final acknowledgement, this step automatically occurs. Okay, so whether you're an employee or a supervisor, if you look at this little timeline, you will always be able to see that item. All right, so let's wrap this one up. So the employee now comes in, tells them that again, here's the deadline, fully review your assessment. You may, if you desire, add additional comments on the last page. So you will be able to, the employee will be able to see any comments. Again, nothing is editable. You can't change the ratings. They'll simply move through the whole review. But it does give them an opportunity to take some time privately to actually go through everything. And then we have your overall rating. Now I will say this, if there is nothing added, then you say, for instance, an employee doesn't add a professional development item, or they don't add a goals and projects, and you as the supervisor don't add those either, then nothing will appear on that tab. Basically just the instructions. So if that happens, don't panic. That may be just that the employee didn't have any professional development items that they wanted to consider. In this case, they did. Now we're at the very end of it. So again, now as the employee, I have the ability to make any final comments. Maybe I just want to say thanks. And now we're going to go to the supervisor. So again, we'll jump out of Miss Sally here. Supervisor gets an email, comes back in, sees that it's the final review. Generally speaking, nothing has changed. So if you just simply, as a supervisor, want to jump to the last step, you can see the employee comments, you can see your own comments. And again, if you want to leave an additional comment, you can as well. And then you will notice that this is the final step. So once you move it to there, now it is locked. There cannot be any more additional changes made to this review. Okay. So from a supervisor's perspective, if I want to see this review, now that it's completed, I would go to my team, performance reviews, just as the instructions said. Leave it open here. This is what you'll come to. So you'll see a lot of things here. You will want to change the status to complete and hit the search button. You will then see that here's Sally's performance. I want to view the report, the progress report. Everything here is pretty much the same. You can just simply click on view report and it's going to bring up that document. Again, print PDF if you need to do that. If not, then that completes the process for you. Let's make sure that we're logged out here of Charlie. And if I'm an employee and my process is now complete, I can log in. I can go to my performance review. I will change the status to complete as well, and I will hit search. Every one of your reviews from this point forward will be available in the system. So in this case, I want to view the report. And your report as an employee looks exactly the same as your supervisor.